We should have started earlier. This is literally the direct quote from Putin whenever he was asked if he does not regret starting this special military operation. Besides that, Kirill Budanov announced a crusade against Russia in revenge for his wife. A very important general of the Z army was eliminated in Kreminna, and 200,000 Russians are in grave danger. And also, guys, today I will tell you a very interesting personal story, but more about all of this in just a couple of minutes. What's up, investors? It's the Russian dude. And let's get straight to the point and talk about some ridiculous Russian propaganda. I almost exhaled every single last bit of air from my lungs. But okay, so today we have the certificate of birth of one of Russian newborns, and his first name is Vladimir Putin. Just like this. The first name is Vladimir-Putin. This newborn, reportedly according to this certificate, does not have a last name. And right here is the interview of the so proud father, who is saying that the decision to call their kid Vladimir Putin was made just so everyone in the future, the next generation, will remember this beautiful president, which did so many good things for Russia. And I mean, eventually, it is pretty much inevitable. Good will always beat evil. And if we remember history, because of one also very questionable persona, the name Adolf is very questionable right now. Not too many people choose to name their kids this way. So pretty much like in 20, 30, 40 years, whenever this guy, this newborn will be grown up with the name Vladimir Putin, and the history will most likely be different than it is right now, I do not think that this poor child will have a very good life. He will need to change it, to say the least. And guys, I know I did promise you a personal story, so here it goes. So, I started going to the gym, and approximately a couple of months later, whenever I was just doing iron exercises, I started to question myself, people usually take supplements of some sort, right, to help the process. And the most typical ones will be obviously the protein powder, BCAAs, pre-workouts, and some vitamins. You probably heard about them all. And during one of these nights of research about some other supplements, I came across a Harvard study about NMNs. And so, let's be honest, guys, you probably know I've been on the trip in Colombia and in Florida, and I gained approximately 15 to 20 pounds in 2 months. And apparently, if you take those NMNs, they can help to reduce the weight. Obviously, if you are exercising, they can reduce cholesterol and then reduce the blood pressure. And since then, I was pretty curious to learn even more about it, because let's be honest, I'm very careful about the supplements that I take, so I started finding even more articles, such as, for example, one from International Journal of Biomedical Science. I found that some age-related diseases, for example, some heart diseases and diabetes, can be correlated to the depletion in cellular NAD, and there are currently clinical studies which say that NMNs, they can help with this. And as a result of this, there are a lot of people who decided to give a try to those supplements instead of just your regular conventional biopharmaceutical drugs. And so I decided to give it a try myself, because I do also go to the gym 2-3 times per week, and I also play hockey, aka the best sport possible. And also right here, for example, is a video of me scoring a goal, which is relatively decent for a beer league hockey. And if you are now also curious yourself, the Black Forest Supplements is offering you a huge promotion. You can buy 2 of those and get 1 completely for free. But hurry up, they mentioned that this offer is only valid for the next 48 hours, so you can either scan this QR code you can see right now on your screen, or go to blackforestsupplements.com/dude. You can also find this link down below. Thank you so much, Black Forest Supplements, for sponsoring this video, and now back to the program. Right, and now guys, let me give you a brief update from the south of Ukraine, where things are heating up tremendously, and 200,000 Russians are in grave danger. Then I'm gonna speak quickly about the situation in the east, and we'll finalize everything with Budanov's revenge against Russia. And first of all, obviously you might have heard already about this after the so-called success of Russians in Avdiivka, and we will talk about this more details very soon. Russians decided to not delay any further, and they opened another front line in Zaporozhye region, specifically in Robotyne. This has also been confirmed by the Ukrainians. As you can see right here are the messages they're sending themselves in Telegram, and yes, once again they confirmed that Russians started advancing. There is way more personnel recorded closer to the front lines, and they start to increase the number of assault attempts daily. And specifically, one of the very first assault attempts came from the east of Kopani, where Ukrainians were able to repel this attack, destroying the entire assault group of Russians along with their armored vehicles. But then, obviously, the major offensive attempt of Russians was focused around Robotyne, where reportedly Russians involved more than 30 armored vehicles of various kinds, and 18 of them were destroyed by Ukrainians, and at the same time 70 Z soldiers were eliminated and 80 of them were wounded. And right here, for example, is the compilation of these failed assaults by Russians against Robotyne, which is summarized in a little bit longer than couple of minutes. Guys, as always, fully uncensored version you will be able to find on my Patreon, the link is down below. And like mentioned previously, at this very moment, it is estimated that around 50,000 Russians are assembling in this small area in Robotyne front line. They are determined to retake these territories that Ukrainians liberated last year. But obviously Ukrainians are waiting for them, and they're not gonna give up the territories without a fight. And besides that, a very big concentration of Russian forces has also been spotted in Mariupol frontline, which is this one between Vuhledar and Marinka, and then approximately 110,000 of them is spotted between Kupiansk and Liman, bringing the total number of Russian soldiers mobilized for the next offensive to approximately 200,000 people. 200,000! This is just 1/5 of a million Russians who are right now in grave danger. Once again, Ukrainians are not gonna give up without a fight. And the majority of them right now are in the east of Ukraine, specifically a total of approximately 150,000 people. So let's talk about the situation in the east right now. But before we go there, guys, if you like this style of daily news updating, can you please support my work by simply liking this video and subscribing to my channel? There is nothing else I'm asking you to do. You can also follow me on Instagram to see how I live outside of YouTube, and don't forget about the newly released merch, the Russian Dude merch, which you can buy on therussiandude.com. There are still some of the merch available which you can buy, and you will receive a personal video message from me, so please hurry up, the link will be down below. And so yes, now as promised, let me give you a brief update from the east of Ukraine, where by the way a very important general of the Russian army was eliminated in Kreminna frontline. But first of all, right here is the video from Kupiansk frontline, where the president of Ukraine, Vladimir Zelensky, recently visited the forces. He gave them a motivational speech, gave some medals and awards, and just briefly lifted the spirits of the Ukrainian defenders. And speaking about Kreminna, right here is the video from the Azov battalion fighting specifically in this front line, where they reportedly were able to eliminate a pretty important Russian general. At this very moment, the name is not yet released to the public, but I'm pretty positive we might know the name of the guy very soon. And also another confirmation that indeed this happened, it is that Russians are completely silent about this event. And you know, the more silent they are, the more significant is the event, the damage to the Russian military. Going even more to the south, to Avdiivka, where Russians continue their assaults, not as intense as in Robotyne and Avdiivka, but still there are daily combat activities. And right here, as a result of one failed attempt by Russians, they lost 4 armored personnel carriers, 3 tanks, and 2 other military vehicles of various kinds. And besides that, recently Ukrainians using Patriot air defense system were able to intercept 1 Su-34 and 1 Su-35 modern fighter jets, which is an incredible achievement, because only in the last 3 days alone a total of 6 such jets were intercepted with Patriot air defense systems. It just shows you the importance of these machines for the Ukrainian army, and they need them to have them, as many of them as possible, to secure the clear sky above the country. Next we have a video from Avdiivka, located in Donetsk region, and as you can see here from this video, reportedly a large oil reservoir and a lot of this fuel was destined to go to the front lines, was destroyed, allegedly, by a Ukrainian attack. But without a doubt, unfortunately, the most significant event of the last several days is that Russians were able to capture Avdiivka, and Ukrainians had to withdraw from this city and take more advantageous defensive positions to the west. And just right here, for example, is one of the most recent videos of the Ukrainian 3rd Assault Brigade, pretty much the elite of Ukrainian forces, who came to Avdiivka to help the remaining forces leave this city unharmed. And in this video you will see the combat activities and just never-ending artillery attacks that Russians do every single, almost feels like, minute against the position of Ukrainians, and they still were able to escape and be alive. And as always, the fully uncensored version of this rescue raid, along with other several more videos from Avdiivka, from the latest days in Avdiivka, you can also find on my Patreon. And guys, there is 1 week of free access for every single one of you to try, if you like it or not. The link is down below. But yeah, unfortunately, like mentioned previously, Ukrainians had to retreat from this city and Russians claimed a victory inside Avdiivka. But I mean, just take a look at the current condition of the city. Not a single building stands intact, and there is no way anyone, I'm almost certain, 99.9% of you guys will never call this a liberated city. But this is exactly how Russians call it. But for Russia, it is obviously a very symbolic victory. There was a Telegram channels making news about the liberation of Avdiivka every single hour. There were messages, there were awards, there were interviews. They were celebrating that, yes, we achieved something huge. But if you know, it's been several months when Russians were trying to capture this city. Ukrainians were not letting them do this, and Russians never stopped using the mid-assaults, which basically means that dozens of thousands of soldiers were eliminated for this city, which does not even have that much strategic importance. The only victory for Russians here is pure symbolic. And specifically, just to talk real numbers, the losses of Russians in Avdiivka in only last 4 months are as following: 47,186 soldiers, 364 tanks, 248 artillery systems, 748 other military armored vehicles, and 5 military planes. And as of right now, Russians do not stop. They continue their offensive attempts, and right now the main next settlement on their way is this small city or even town called Lastachkina. And so once again, while Russians continue to try and claim these symbolic victories at a cost of tens of thousands of lives and pretty much not have any significant real progress, the Ukrainian military leadership does actually try to come up with something unusual, with the strategies which are very unconventional for the modern warfare, because this is exactly how you achieve major breakthroughs. And such as, for example, the head of defense intelligence of Ukraine, Budanov, if you remember, approximately several weeks ago, his wife was reportedly poisoned. Don't worry, she is alive. But right now he is mentioning that he knows who was responsible for this incident. He knows the ones to blame, and he will show the results of these counter-intelligence actions, I would say, on the territory of Russia. Basically what he's saying right here is that he announcing a crusade, pretty much attacks against the territory of Russia, most likely against major cities, either St. Petersburg or Moscow. There's not that many details obviously yet, otherwise if we know it, the Ministry of Defense of Russia definitely knows it, but the announcement is very promising. And on the other hand, on the side of Russians, Vladimir Putin, whenever he was asked about if he regrets even at all starting this so-called special military operation, he replied that The only thing I regret is that we should have started way earlier. He was saying that Russia was really hoping that the counterparts, specifically Ukraine and the West, will be way more cooperative whenever, according to him, Ukrainians were eliminating Ukrainians on the territory of Ukraine with the help of the West, and Russia was trying to protect these Ukrainians from being eliminated by Ukrainians on the territory of Ukraine, assisted by the West, and nobody was cooperating with poor Putin. And then, yes, like he was just forced to start this war. So pretty much, as you can see, this is exactly how much sense his statements make, but this is something what he truly believes. And unfortunately, a lot of Russian people are being propagandized so much, so they also believe it as well. And by the way, guys, if you did miss my previous video where I was talking about Putin allegedly being ready for the peace negotiations, you can go ahead and see it right now. It is to my left. At the same time, please do not forget about the Russian Dude merch which has been recently released. Please subscribe to my channel if you do like this style of daily updates. Thank you so much, patrons, for your support, and see you tomorrow.